Welcome to Road to Revolution Part 1. These are going to be part of a series of videos that talk about the different steps that led to the Texas Revolution. The first one is going to be about the Fredonian Rebellion. Just as a quick side note, back when we looked at the Spanish missions, there was a pattern we saw in what caused Spain to lose control of Texas. They had problems with Texas, with the missions. They were unable to properly convert the natives. They weren't really able to make any money from the land. And so diseases and rejection of the missions kind of led to a lot of issues, and they weren't very effective. So a government official, his name is Marquis de Ruby, was sent to investigate, and he basically determined the missions were useless. And he made a recommendation that causes the Spanish king to close down all but 3 locations in Texas, and they essentially lost control of Texas. Eventually, Americans do come to Texas. The filibusters come and they try to claim land in Texas due to Fort St. Louis, and they march to San Antonio, but there the Spanish have an army to meet them, and they show no mercy at the Battle of Medina. General Arredondo has a lot of them killed, and he even moves across the state, destroying anyone he thought might be helping the filibusters. And I said this, there was a pattern you were going to see, but keep an eye on that pattern, because today we're going to talk about that pattern coming to fruition. The Fredonian Rebellion begins in 1826, kind of carries over into 1827, in Nacogdoches, one of the few cities that were still around after Spain left Texas and Mexico became independent. Some of the people involved are Hayden Edwards, Richard Fields, who was a Native American, he was a Cherokee chief, and Stephen F. Austin. So, in 1826, Hayden Edwards and his brother wanted to become an impresario, and they got permission from the Mexican government to settle people in Nacogdoches. The problem was that there's already a lot of people in that area. There were some Native Americans, there were some filibusters who hadn't really ever been kicked out, and they were just living on the land without permission. But they had been there for a long time, so they felt like they had rights to the land. Well, Hayden Edwards was very sort of consumed with making money, as he should, though. He was an impresario and he did get permission. So he comes into the land, and he tells all the Tejanos, the Native Americans, even the Anglo settlers who were there illegally, to get out of there because they weren't paying for the land. Those people were not very happy, and so they went to the Mexican government and asked for permission to stay. And the Mexican government initially said that they are sick of all the issues that are going on with Hayden Edwards. Hayden Edwards also got involved in a scandal where he basically changed election results, and so the Mexican government ended up not supporting him and taking back his impresario grant. The problem was that Hayden Edwards had spent a lot of money to do this, and he wasn't willing to leave, and the families he had brought with him to live on the land weren't wanting to go either. So Hayden Edwards joined up with a bunch of Cherokee natives who had been moved into the area, and he said, we're going to form our own country. We're going to call ourselves Fredonia. And you can see over here in the red, the Fredonian colonies, Edwards colonies, and they're going to take that part of that and make it their own land. And you notice that Austin, Stephen F. Austin, is right nearby. So independence, liberty, and justice is what they put on their flag. You'll notice, you might have seen this before on a flag. A white field on the top and a red field on the bottom. And if you're not quite sure, you should definitely take a look at a Texas flag. The Texas flag actually has the Fredonian Rebellion flag built into it. So it definitely tells us that this is an important event. Well, he forms his own country, or he claims he does. Well, Stephen F. Austin hears of this, and he's invited to join the Fredonians, and he has to make a decision. Will I join the Anglo settlers, people who have a very similar culture to me, or will I continue to support Mexico? I did promise to help people become Mexican citizens, and he knows that Mexico's afraid of filibusters. He hears of what Hayden Edwards done, and he is angry, and he says, no, we are not filibusters. We are going to lose everything. The Mexican government will cancel everyone's land grants. I will lose everything. And so he actually sends people to take down Hayden Edwards. The Mexican dragoons, they show up at the old stone fort in Nacogdoches, where Hayden Edwards and some of the native people underneath Chief Richard Fields are trying to have this rebellion. And Hayden Edwards hears about this, and he makes a decision. He's going to leave. He runs away with his brother, and there are no one left except for the Native Americans. Richard Fields, the Cherokee, he was hung and put to death. But Hayden Edwards basically gets off the hook for free, and Mexico has basically put down the Fredonian Rebellion. And Stephen F. Austin supported them in putting it down. So here's some outcomes that are pretty important. This is the first major attempt to split Texas away by Anglo settlers. Yes, we had filibusters. Remember, the filibusters hadn't been living in Texas up to this point. This is the first time people living in Texas tried to break it away. This makes Mexico much more suspicious of the Anglos. They start saying, well, man, every time something goes wrong, are these Anglos going to cause trouble? Are they going to try to break away? And Mexico's going to start thinking, we need to put more controls. We need to have more rule over the people in Texas. So hopefully that was very helpful for you. And this has told you a lot more about the Fredonian Rebellion. This will lead to our next major event, which is Miri Turan, a man whose job is to come and put all of this straight.